So I'll be gone on Wednesday. Like, is it possible for me to do the mini quiz like tomorrow during advisory?
Yes. Just sign up for RTI.
I did. Thank you.
I'll be at Project Grass. I work at Bye.
Did Christian leave this? Yeah. Oh.
What? Did you say my name?
Yeah, no, I thought that was you. Should I take it or should I?
Do you need me for something?
No.
Can you just say my name?
That worker walked past and I forgot what her name was.
Worker?
Yeah.
Shorter than Addison?
What?
Huh?
You just said my name.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. I
Is it
forgot.
shorter than Addison?
Yeah.
Okay, bruh. Peter. I'll see you next week, Mr. Johnson.
Why not Friday?
I told you I'm going to be in Orlando. For sure.
Oh, right, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Hello.
It was better than itself. Well, it was better than itself.
You ready? I'm nervous.
Dude, we should have got on that shit.
I think so. It's just drop calculators.
No calculator.
Thank you. Sharpen it.
Might not.
It's at the grade weight that they're 68.
Really? Good nuggets?
Huh? I would call it linear / quadratic / piecewise, but whatever you're going to remember it as. All right, guys, if y'all did not turn in those 4 assignments I asked you to do as homework at the end of last class, this is your last chance to get points on them. So if you need to double check if they're in Google Classroom, now's the time to do so. I need those before we start, not later. You can have a calculator on today's test, but again, it's only for checking answers. You got to have your work shown, and you need to get your phones and smartwatches put up before I can give you your test.
Yeah, you don't need to do it after school, my favorite part. Like,
I don't have the things in Google Classroom.
I always like getting Christine, like, it's just smart, I've done the actual things, but like, that's like,
You can use a calculator to check your answer.
you got it, you got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's more than a page, I guess. Okay, did I get everybody? Okay, so 50 points total. Again, as I've been saying, feel free to use a calculator to check your work. I honestly think a calculator could check a ton of this, maybe even close to half of the test. I really think it's a big mistake not to lean on that. But if you only have what's considered a bald answer, which just means you just have the answer there, and I can tell you did it in the calculator, like, I don't know, the answer is 3.456 or something. Something you wouldn't come up with in your head. That's not worth any points. So only use the calculator to check your arithmetic, check as many of the answers as you know how to. There is a bonus question at the end. You have to have work shown that you can't just guess what the answer would be. Most questions are worth more than a point, so anything worth more than a point, as always, you can get partial credit on. So this is, of course, going to be the most important here, and you can take as long as you need to, but once all the tests are in, we'll start looking at 117 and maybe a little bit of 118 when the tests are done. Those are the two handouts you picked up on the way out. Okay, I think that's it. But if you have any questions about the directions, please ask. I'd rather you double check than to just assume and accidentally be wrong. Walker. 3 Okay, let's go ahead and look at the two handouts you guys picked up on your way in. Wednesday's class, I need to warn you, will be slightly different. So I will be here Wednesday, but I won't be in here on Wednesday. We're doing interviews for math teachers for next year, and I have to be a part of that. So I need to help you guys with these two handouts because that's what I will leave behind for you to work on. So to make sure that you know what you need to do, we need to review this. So the first one we're going to look at is the one on synthetic and long division. So we've really got one more unit that's got the section 2.5, which is really on the fundamental theorem of algebra, which I told you what that was the other day, but just a fancy way to say whatever the degree is how many zeros it has. But for that and for graphing rational functions, our last two big topics, both of those we need to remember how to do polynomial division. So I'm going to review you on long division and synthetic division. You'll probably remember and like synthetic division a little bit better, but you can see I have you working each one of these questions both ways, so that if you do feel better about synthetic, you could do it first, count on it being your answer, and then if you get the same thing with long division, then you're probably in good shape, and if you're getting something different, then you at least know to stick with the question. So the reason why I'm having you do both, again, is so that you can kind of compare them, but you need to understand that even though you probably like synthetic division better, you can't use synthetic division all the time. So long division is the only one that always works. So it's kind of like quadratic formula. If this is the only way you know to do polynomial division, it better be long division. Whereas synthetic division only works when you have a variable plus a number or a variable minus a number. If you're dividing by like x plus 3 or m plus 3 or x minus 5 or n minus 5, you can use synthetic. Now, every question on this worksheet has been rigged where you can do both methods. So you could do either synthetic or long, but I want us to practice both on this one. So let me give you, we're going to do, I'm going to do two long division questions with you, ask you to try a long division question, then we'll go back to question 1 and 2, and we'll do the same two questions but synthetic division, and I'll have you try that on one of those, and then we'll look at a little bit of the next handout, and then I'll give you some time to come back and finish this one up. Okay, so long division. Well, both of these you have to know how to set them up. So with long division, you need to take the divisor, put it on the outside, and what you're dividing it into goes under the little division symbol. So long division is considered to be an algorithm, which just means we've got a couple of steps that we're going to repeat as many times as possible. So step 1 of long division is the first part of your answer, the first part of the quotient, needs to be the thing times m that gives you this. So that would be m, because m times m is m squared. Now technically you multiply it to the whole thing. So it's not just m times m, it's also m times negative 8. Now this is the part you need to put the most focus on, because this is where most of the mistakes are going to happen. Really, we're supposed to be taking all of this stuff, subtract all of that stuff. So sure, in theory, you could say minus and put the whole thing in parentheses, but what tends to happen with students is you guys know that these cancel. If these two don't add to 0, then you didn't pick the right thing here. And then they add this one, and that's not what you're supposed to do. When you distribute this, you're actually subtracting a negative 8m. So the way I'm going to word it, and my advice to you, is after you multiply, just change both signs and change it to an addition question. That's the same thing as distributing the negative, but I just think that y'all make this mistake less. Okay, so these add to 0. These do not add to negative 15m. they add to 1m. Again, you have to subtract the negative 8m or change the sign and add. And that's it. That's the whole steps. We just have to repeat them again. Next part of my quotient would be 1, because 1 is the thing I can multiply by m to get m. Also take 1 times negative 8. As soon as you're done multiplying, change the signs and add before you forget. Okay, so your answer is going to come from the quotient. The quotient's this thing up here. And then you've got to use the remainder. Now, you probably remember doing something like r negative 3 to say remainder negative 3, like in 4th grade or something. But that's just because you had seen very little fractions. r negative 3, this is not a real math thing, don't do that. You need to add the remainder over the divisor. Add the remainder over the divisor. Now, technically adding a negative, we usually just say subtracting a positive, so either one's fine, but it'd probably be written like that. Okay, so let me say that again on question 2, and then I'll have you try it on just one for now on question 3. Okay, so you need to know how to set it up. Put the n minus 6 out front. That's the divisor. We're going to divide it into n squared minus n minus 29. So, got to be able to set it up. And then algorithm step 1 is first part of the quotient, first part of your answer needs to be the thing times this that gives you that. So that would be n. n times n is n squared. Also take it times negative 6 to get negative 6n. And unless you just have a foolproof method, my advice is to instantly change the signs and add. I've just found that over the years that tends to give students the less issues if you program the way you work these in the same way. Okay, reset the steps. Next part would be 5, because 5 times n is what gives me 5n. Also 5 times negative 6 gives me negative 30. As soon as I'm done multiplying, change the signs and add. Okay, I know that I'm finished because there's nothing times n that gives me 1 without putting the variable in the denominator, which is not what we're interested in doing. So you just need to know how to write your answer. Your answer is going to be the quotient, n plus 5, plus the remainder over the divisor. Now, to be honest, a lot of times we do division, we really hope that it divides into it evenly and get a remainder of 0, but it doesn't always give us a remainder of 0. Okay, why don't you try one long division question on number 3. And I'll give you a minute to try that, see if you can do it right. even if you're not finished, you should kind of figured out where you're slowing down and what hasn't clicked completely. So go ahead and just finish with me here. So, of course, you got to know how to set it up. You do have to memorize a couple steps, but looks like you should have started off with the n. N times n is n squared. N times 5 is 5n. And here's the first place that you can check for a mistake. If you have 15n right here, that's what I'm worried about. You need to change the signs and add. This should actually be a 5n plus 18 when you're halfway through the question. All right, we also need a plus 5 because 5 times n gives us 5n. 5 times 5 gives us 25. Second I'm done with multiplication, I'm going to change the signs and add. Now, I can't do those steps anymore because there's nothing times n to give me -7 without putting an n in a denominator. So now we should be ready to write out our answer. Quotient, n plus 5, plus remainder, -7, over the divisor, n plus 5. And of course, adding a negative, bless you, adding a negative, we usually just say subtracting a positive, but either one's fine, because they mean the same thing. Okay, any immediate questions about number 3? Okay, then even though I'm not going to give you time to do question number 4 right now, let's go ahead and set it up just because there is kind of something that might throw you for a loop here. So we're not going to work all the way through it, but notice this is dividing by into a squared minus 28. And you can do this, and mathematically it should work out, but for a lot of you, you're going to want to put a placeholder in here. You've got this many a squareds, and you have no a's. Again, you don't have to put that there in your setup, but I think that you'll think it's easier if you do. So go ahead and set up for that way. And again, I'll give you some more time at the end of class to come back and start more of these. But for now, let's look at synthetic division. So we're going to go back to question 1, do the exact same question, but just a different process. Okay, so synthetic division, most people set it up this way, where there's a little box on the top left, and then a line down here. The number that you put in this top left box is where the divisor equals 0. So that would be positive 8 for question 1. And then you have to list off the coefficients in order. Now, I like synthetic division better than long division, probably like you, but synthetic division is super picky about the order. If this stuff was in scrambled up, you can't just put them in the order that they're listed. You have to put them in the descending order. So m squareds are my biggest. I've got 1 of those. Then the next biggest thing is m's. I've got -7 of those. And then you just keep doing that until you get down to the constant, which in this question is -11. So all of that's for the setup, where the divisor equals 0, and then the coefficients in order. 1 of these, -7 of those, -11 of these. Now, this is also an algorithm, but this one is super quick. So if you don't remember synthetic division and you tune me out for about 15 seconds, you're going to miss it because there's only 2 steps. Synthetic division, you add down, so 1 plus nothing is 1. And then you multiply these 2 and put it here. 1 times 8 becomes 8. And then you just repeat that as many times as you can. Add down, -7 plus 8. Multiply this times 8 and put it here. Add down. And that's it. Add down, multiply, put in the next step. Add down, multiply, and put in the next step. Add down, multiply, and put it in the next step. Just as many times as you can. Now, this is not your answer. This is a set of 3 numbers. This is trying to tell you what your answer is, but you still have to interpret this before we get our answer. So, you need to realize we started off with an m squared, degree 2, and then we divided out an m. So, dividing out an m is going to reduce this degree by 1. So, this is going to tell me how many m's I have. This is going to tell me how many of the next thing I have, which would be the constant. And then the last thing is going to be the remainder. The remainder still has to be put over the divisor. The divisor is not 8. That's just how you set up long division. The divisor is still n minus 8. And then again, I've structured this worksheet where you should get the exact same thing with long division as synthetic division. So that's your quick little check. Okay, let me say all that again in question 2, and then I'll give you time to do guided practice on question 3. So the quotient equals 0 at 6, and minus 6 equals 0 at 6. I have to put out all the coefficients, and they have to be in order. You got 1n squared, minus 1n, and a minus 29. Now again, this is super picky. So if there was no n's, I would have to put a 0 here. If you don't put a 0 there, synthetic division thinks you're working a different question. And then the 2 steps are add down, multiply and put it here. Add down, multiply and put it here. Add down as many times as you can, and then make sense out of these numbers at the bottom. I started off with n squareds. I divided by an n, so that's going to lower the degree by 1. So now this represents the number of n's. The next number would represent the constant, and the last number is always going to represent the remainder. Remainder still needs to be put over divisor. And it's the exact same question we did a minute ago, just a different process. Should have the exact same answer. Okay, so finish copying that down, and please try synthetic division for number 3. And if you get the same answer as we got on the left, you can go ahead and start question 4 while you give everybody else a minute to catch up. Okay, so you should have put a -5 in the top left. That's where n plus 5 equals 0. The numbers should have been 1, 10, and 18. Again, they have to be in descending order. If you're missing something, you have to put a 0. Then add down. 1 plus nothing is 1. Multiply that by -5 and put it in this next spot. Add down, multiply by -5 and put it in the next spot. Add down. Now I can't do it anymore, but these should give me my answers. This is going to represent the number of n's, the constant, and the remainder. Remainder still has to be put over the divisor. -5 is not the divisor. -5 is the number that we put in the box to set up synthetic division. N plus 5 is the divisor. Okay, any questions about the synthetic of number 3? Okay, so even though I'm not going to give you time to do question 4 right now, again, I'll give you time. Well, yeah, that's fine. We'll adjust a little bit here. On synthetic division, let's go ahead and set this one up together. I'd still like you to go ahead and do it as well. But a minus 5 equals 0 when a is 5. Now here's what I'm concerned about. With long division, in red here I put in a placeholder, and it's completely optional. You don't technically need this placeholder to do long division. You need to be careful that when you take this stuff minus this stuff, that you combine like terms. You shouldn't be combining a squareds with constants. But in synthetic division, it makes a big difference. If you just say 1 and negative 28, this is like you're saying synthetic division thinks that you have 1a and then a constant of negative 28. And that's not what you have. You have 1a squared, 1a squared. You have no a's, and then you have a constant of negative 28. And if you don't put that placeholder in synthetic division, it's not going to work out. You're not going to know that it doesn't work out. You're just going to get numbers that don't end up giving you the real answer. Okay, I was kind of hoping that we could look at the other worksheet a little bit, but I did only give you guys 12 minutes from now, so I will let you have these 12 minutes to do a few of these. Just do a couple long divisions and a couple synthetic divisions, and then save a couple for Wednesday so that you have to think about that again. So again, on Wednesday, I will be on campus, just not in here. Well, I will try to be in here, but I think we have interviews pretty much the whole day, so that'll be outside of my control. But I will ask you to finish this up. I will leave behind a short class video from one of my other classes so that you can get the notes to the other worksheet you guys picked up today, the 2.5 worksheet, and some practice questions that go along with that. So that will be the plan. Of course, you guys should always come to school with the charged Chromebook, but I would recommend it a little bit more for Wednesdays because, again, it'll only be like a 10-15 minute video. It won't be super long or anything, but without that, you won't be able to get much done, and you'll be falling behind a little bit. So again, do a couple of these. I'd actually prefer you not to do all of them though. I really would like you guys to have to think about it again on Wednesday. But you should begin to answer both sides. If you feel more comfortable with synthetic division, do synthetic division first, and then when you do long division, if it's not coming out to the same answer, you know something's off, and maybe you can catch it and adjust your thought process before you have to redo a bunch. I will do my best to get some more of these test grades in, but I'll be honest that I probably won't get them all in today. You guys know I always try to, but I've just got a ton of stuff going on with AP and seniors and stuff right now, so I'm just a little bit behind. They will definitely be in gradebook by the end of the day tomorrow for sure.